Okay, so I finally read Red Rising. Just like
Finally.
Zach, yeah, like he said I should. And Zach, you were right, man. This book rocks.
I told you so.
So today we're going full spoiler, people. We're going to talk about this book and all the things that Zach couldn't say during his book blast. If you haven't read it, go away. This is not for you. But if you have read this, you're going to enjoy. So hi there, this is Fantasy for the Ages, the show where a father and son get together and talk about fantasy, science fiction, and other nerdy things we enjoy. We hope you'll enjoy this episode, and if you do, hit that like button down below and subscribe if you haven't done so. Look around our channel, we got a lot of cool stuff here that we think you may be entertained by. As we were entertained by Red Rising. Wow!
It's good.
It's so good. I will say it's the best science fiction adventure story I've gotten into since The Expanse. Hands down. And maybe is like right there, but disclaimer, I'm through book 2 now. We're only going to talk about book 1 today. That's going to be hard a little bit.
It's going to be very hard for you.
I'm going to pare us back on a few things we could talk about because I want to save it for the next discussion, which will be coming soon. I've already started book 3. I'm just a little ways into book 3 and really glad where it picked up. Oh, man. Oh, so much. But book 1, that's what we're on today. And we're going to need to drink to get through this conversation. So I've got some Roussanne, a nice white wine. What are you drinking today?
I'll be honest, I have no idea what that is beyond white. Usually when you bring out a wine, I'm like, yeah, I know what that is. Roussanne?
Hey, you're going to pick up some wine later today.
What are we talking?
Ask them if they have a Roussanne.
I'm probably not going to ask if they have a Roussanne.
It'll show some wine snobbery on your part. Because if they say, Roussanne, what's that? You're like, oh, you don't know Roussanne?
Yeah, here's the problem. One,
you don't know Roussanne.
One, I don't know what it is. So if they come back with, what is that? I don't know.
It looks like this, okay?
Great. 2, you imply that being a wine snob is a good thing or something I want. I don't. I actively dislike that.
Most people at your age demographic are trying to really get into wine and become
enjoying
polite
wine
snobs.
Is very different from being a wine snob. Anyway,
as you say.
Yeah, no.
What are you drinking? It's not Roussanne.
Not wine. The only liquor in here is a little bit of vanilla vodka, making kind of a casual vanilla Coke of sorts, because I still have a little vanilla vodka I still need to work through. Well, there's not a whole lot left. It's in a little skull decanter. It's maybe to like the bottom teeth.
Tequila belongs in skull decanters.
Yeah, but I don't like tequila.
Vodka. Oh man, you wouldn't have enjoyed our cruise that we just got back from then because we had a lot of tequila. Mexico was all about Mexico. It's all about tequila. But that's not what we're here for today. We're here to talk about Red Rising. True. Again, the first book only of Pierce Brown's Red Rising Saga series. And these were advertised as the Red Rising trilogy originally. Mm-hmm. So this was book 1 of the trilogy. And I do remember what you said in your book blasts, that books 1, 2, 3 all come from one protagonist's point of view. And I know all about him now. We're talking about Darrow.
Darrow of Lycos.
Character. Yeah. So let's get into this. Now, the first fifth of the book versus the real book. You know what I mean.
Yeah, but the first fifth of the book that you're talking about sets the tone for the book.
Oh, so much.
Within the first couple chapters, you know, and I said it in my book blast, this is an emotionally brutal book.
But the Darrow we meet right up front, very different the rest of the Darrow that we get to know. He is so transformed by what happens to EO.
Yeah.
And then what is done to him by Mickey. Yeah. The carving experience. I mean, dies twice going through that experience, if I remember right.
I mean, like, dies.
His heart stopped, and they had to bring him back.
And or comes so close to essentially being stopped. Hemanthus is a weird, like, we don't
Oh, no,
exactly
no,
have a
no.
perfect
The
parallel,
Hemanthus
but
had okay, we're talking two different dyings. So
yeah,
yes,
no, I know we're talking
he's
multiple.
hung, and thanks to low gravity, doesn't necessarily truly die from that. His neck didn't break, clearly, but he seemed dead because his uncle slips him a Mickey. But then he's taken to another
To
Mickey,
another Mickey.
who actually, I mean, the science, the way it has upgraded, that they can take this little red. Okay, and we'll talk about the colors in a moment
We
here,
will
but
talk
you
about
take
that.
this little red and turn him into this freaking huge gold, who's not just a gold, he is a gold among golds, and he becomes a specimen. What they had to do to him physically was traumatic. It was
Oh
not
yeah.
possible, except Mickey is a savant with carving, which is sci-fi for plastic surgery and so much more.
Yes and no, because Mickey can do miracles. He couldn't have done Darrow if Darrow wasn't Darrow. And they highlight this.
Yes,
You mentioned his heart stops and stuff. His heart couldn't have taken it had it not been. And his heart is one of the few things that is still original. It's not
right.
changed to be a gold heart. No, it's still his red heart. He just survived an encounter with pit vipers as a kid by his heart being stronger and having to deal with what he had and reds as they are. And so all these different things, it's like he's Secretariat.
Okay, there's so many things we need to talk about here, and it's hard not to jump too far out of order, but I do want to get to that. So let's just talk about that. One of the things that allows Darrow in this story to be who he becomes and to persevere through so much trial and trauma and overcome is his heart. Now I'm not talking the physical heart now. I'm talking about his heart, that he is doing this for Io, for his wife's dream, for what she wanted him to become. And she saw this in him. And she was willing to die to spur this in him, to drive him to, not that she had a vision of him becoming a gold, but to drive him to not settle, but
To
to
break the
become more.
chains and live for more.
But so he makes this choice when he's given an opportunity then by the sons of Ares to be physically become more and to go on this mission. He's willing to do it because of Io, because of his love and what she wanted for him. But did he really have such a choice, or has he been manipulated? Because you mentioned the pit viper stuff. His heart is stronger because when he was bit by a pit viper, his uncle didn't remove all of the venom because it knew it would leave him stronger if he survived it.
You know, there's definitely like wiggling around and manipulation and Darrow not always making a choice. And I want to highlight something that you said, because at least where we're sitting through Red Rising, through this book, through what we're seeing here, yes, Darrow is motivated by love, but not really. Darrow's
That's the
motivated by
initial catalyst.
no. Darrow's motivated by rage. Darrow is motivated by rage and a desire for vengeance for the one he loves.
Okay, I'm going to stop on that. Yes, he's full of rage over what was done. Maybe initially he's driven by vengeance, but that's a major character growth shift that takes place and has to take place, or we only have one book.
But I don't think it takes place until lying in the snows with a Mustang taking care of him.
Yes, that is the major moment where things change. But I think he was already starting to, because he's meeting people like Julian, who he then has to kill.
There
But
definitely
he's
was more
meeting
to it.
people,
It's not a
he's meeting these
blind
golds that are
rage.
not just all evil, and he's recognizing that. So it's not all rage.
It's not blind and pure rage, and we see the contrast of what it could have been if Darrow was just that in
Titus.
Titus.
Yes.
The proof that, hey, no, Darrow is being manipulated into this because Darrow's not the only one they're making do this.
Yeah. So making do this. Okay. We have this first introduction of the book where we get his backstory. A little bit about his personality. He's a daring soul. He's willing to try things. He's not willing to just settle for how it's always been. That's already built into his personality. He has aspirations and goals. He believes himself extremely capable, just as a red, living in his own world. That's then transported through what happens into, hey, we could take those traits, and how about doing something to change things for all reds for the better? And it's a great moment in the story, which I didn't see coming. You had done a beautiful job of not telling me too much in the book blast. So I knew there's more to this story, but I don't know where it's going to go or how it's going to happen. And the reveal that this whole world they have terraforming, getting the helium-3, it's all lies, lies. No, didn't see that coming. It was beautiful. So well written. But then he has this huge journey. I mean, it's months.
It's the better part of like a year or almost 2 before we get to the main part of the thing.
He has to be trained mentally to prepare. He's got to be able to fake it and make it. You can't fake it till you make it. You have to fake it so good that you make it. One slip up, he's a dead man.
From when Darrow and Io are chilling in Lycos to when he enters into, oh goodness, what's the name of this one? This one's not the Academy?
Yes, this is the Academy.
This is the Academy?
The Institute's later. The Academy.
Okay, I couldn't remember which one was the Institute and which one was Academy. I'm like, I don't know.
Fresher in my head. This is the Academy.
So from the time he was in Lycos to the time he's in the Academy, Darrow goes from being 16 to being 18.
Okay.
So it is a 2-year period of transitioning who he is, what he is, learning different things, changing his body physically. And I think we do need to give credit not just to Mickey, but we need to make sure to give credit to Mateo. Because Mickey changes Darrow's body. Mateo helps change and train his mind.
And all of this, he had to not just learn how to fake it as a gold. He needed to become gold. That's what they did to him. They turned him into gold.
Which is really rough on him, especially as an impressionable 16-year-old. Who, 16 down in the mines was an adult, but 16 still a 16-year-old. You are still a impressionable youngster. I don't care if you've been married for a couple of years because that's how life is down there.
Yeah.
You're still dealing with that.
Now, all through this process, he's meeting different types of people. He's not surrounded by all reds with the occasional gold overlord coming to visit. No, he's meeting pinks. He's meeting, we've got yellows and browns, and I don't remember exactly which colors he's
Purple,
interacting
silvers,
with here.
Coppers,
he's learning
grays,
about obsidians and grays and blues. I mean, he's learning about all of it because he's got to know all this stuff. But he doesn't have direct encounters with all of those yet. That's for later books. That's to come. But then, finally, it's time. They've created a fake identity for him, which somehow they managed to make bulletproof. One of the things that I find
Andromeda.
And one of the things I find interesting about this whole setup, it's good writing. And since I'm already started in book 3, I know why they do it this way. He's working for and as an agent of the Sons of Ares. They're going to try to overthrow the society that has trapped reds as they are and this strict caste system of colors and saying, no, we can do better. We need to break this corrupt system down. But he never meets the head of the Sons of Ares. I guess Ares.
At least as far as we are aware, few people ever meet Ares.
It's very hush-hush.
He's a mysterious leader. Clearly
there's a reason.
Present leader, but mysterious.
There's a reason. You'll learn the reason eventually, but not in this book.
I personally love the availability of and choice in using Greek and Roman terms and mythologies so that you get things like House Mars in the Academy juxtaposed with the Sons of Ares. And these are two sides of similar coins, but for drastically different things.
Yeah. So let's talk about this Academy. I mean, talk about some next level Hunger Games. Okay. We start off with a test. And based on that test, you are then drafted into houses. And then your house, you are paired up in this thing called the passage. You are paired up. Everyone in the house is paired up. And the proctor has designed this so that the weak are against the strong.
Yeah.
And it's a way where they, right off the bat, cull half of everybody who came to the academy. Holy crap.
A small step back even. You said it starts with a test. It starts with a test to see if you can get in, and you don't like choose. This is your placement test. This is your SATs. You're choosing to do this because you want to go to the academy.
Okay, no, wait. I didn't infer it that way. I understood it as they get invited to the academy.
No.
And you can't turn down an invitation to the academy.
It's a yes and a no. You have to go take that test, and it's the I forget what they call it, but it's the logic of like they use the example of if a fish has this many scales on this side and this many scales on this side, which side has the most scales? The outside. And it's that version of logic on this like 100 question test or something.
So you're saying if there are some who don't pass the test and they're just done.
There are some who do mediocre on the test and are done. They take the best and the worst of the people on those tests into the academy. Then they're evaluated for various skills, sorted into houses, and paired
and culled.
Basically,
this is a culling, man.
To cull, and so it's from the original test. The people who did worst and theoretically contribute the least to society, the weakest, are put.
So I missed. Thank you. I missed the aspect that there's a middle ground that are just thank you for coming. You guys are done.
But they don't tell you how you did on that test, so you could think you did very, very well, but you're one of the ones getting culled.
I definitely caught in the book, though, that if you are invited to the academy to take this test, you can't turn that invitation down. It's illegal to turn that down.
It's once you've taken the original test, which is not at the academy. If you get the invitation to go to the academy, you cannot turn that down.
I'm going to have to double check that. That's not how I remember it. But you could totally be right.
And to not take that test is seen as horrible and shameful because you're essentially choosing the frivolous life of a pixie.
But see, that's the thing where I'm like, those who have already survived and have come out the other end of the academy, they know what's going to be done. But this is like Fight Club. You don't talk about Fight Club, okay? So they can't tell anybody what's going to happen to them. They can't talk about the passage. They can't do these things. Eventually, it's their kids that are going. And so if you could decline taking the test in the first place, why the heck wouldn't they make them decline taking the test if they know you're not going to be good enough and this is going to kill you?
To be fair, only the peerless scarred are the ones who actually have gone through the academy, would know this, and be able to do that. And yeah, there's plenty of scarred. There are plenty who are not. And only the peerless scarred really have the opportunity and chance to get the best appointments and best advancement, both for themselves and for their house. So it's this sort of thing of if you have the scar, you're brutal enough or proud enough to go, yeah, my offspring's going to do great. They're going to do this. They're going to be fine. And if you don't have it, you see this is their chance and opportunity to advance. They can't do it without it.
Well, again, how brutal is this, though, that of the ones who are selected,
immediately half of them are done.
Are then immediately done. And that's part of the growth process for the ones who survive. We want you all to have to come through a process where you killed someone else to earn your spot.
So at this point, can we talk about Severo and Priam?
Yes. Why not? Oh, man.
Because I think it's very, very rare that anyone's going to read this book or the subsequent later books or anything and not love Severo as a character.
I mean, Severo is there's words for him. He's not a very nice person.
No, but he's also a smartass
awesome
in an amazing way.
Time.
The first time we meet him, 100%. He's an asshole. And you love it.
Thank you for using words I can't use. I appreciate that. Oh, and creating the howlers. I mean, it was just awesome. But yeah, he was paired with Priam to die. He's supposed to die. Severo is not supposed to make it through the passage. But this guy has cojones. There's nothing stopping him doing what he wants to do. He's going to upset and, flip the expectations any way he can.
Now, that being said, we know through this first book who Severo's dad is, right?
By the end of the book, we do know that the Proctor of Mars,
Fitchner.
Fitchner, is Severo's dad, and so he chose him for his own house.
He also
And
chose to
do
pair
I
him with the
understand
number
this
1
right?
seed.
Am I inferring this correctly, though, that the Proctor is the one who sets that order, or is that set by someone else, a
I
greater body?
I think I think it's Proctor and others. Like the Proctor is in charge of House Mars, but doesn't have the sole decision.
Okay.
But I do think it was largely. So I think largely Fitchner said, "Yeah, my son's going to be the bottom seed, and this guy everyone expects to do amazing and win this year is going to be the top seed, and we're going to start with an underdog story where my son's just going to brutally murder that guy. I
Now, do
trust
you
him to do
think
it."
that from the beginning? Do you think Fitchner knew? Oh, yeah, Severo will come out fine. They was setting up Prius to go down, or was this I can't be shown to favor my own. He doesn't really have a shot, but I'm going to give him this, and if he pulls it off, yeah, boy. I mean, which way
As
was he coming?
far as the Red Rising book is, anyone who has read this book, I think is totally fair in their assumption that Fitchner maybe did this as a way to even kill his son and be like, he's not good enough, he's not ready, we got to get rid of him. Not even, but or throw him a bone. There's enough like wiggle room where it's unsure. The moment
I
you
could,
read any further,
yeah.
no, he had full faith in his son. He had full faith that he would kill Priam.
I don't think so. I think I interpret it again. I'm only through the first part of book 3. I interpret it as he's not on the same page with his son, but he loves his son. He has reasons to love his son. And this is the best he can do for him. I'm going to give you a shot. And I'm going to hope it works out. You've got a chance because of who you are. But I don't think he was confident he was going to pull it off. I'm sure he was thrilled he pulled it off, but
there's definitely a level of like more hope than confidence, I think.
yeah, okay, let's go with that.
But I think there are enough things later down the road that you'll get to that I can't see him putting just it's a real long shot and being pleasantly surprised that Severo's alive. There's a certain amount of like, no, he's sure that Severo could. Not that he will, but that he could.
Along the lines of what you're talking about, man, I have something a little more we could talk about after this episode's over. I can't say it on screen, but there are some comparisons between Severo and Fitchner. There are some real comparisons here that I appreciate in the writing of this story. Now, Darrow gets paired up with Julian, and that is just not fair, man. That was cold.
That's rude and harsh in many ways, and yet in a way I can't talk about it. I also think it is smart and calculated, but cold.
Well, Julian did not score high, and nobody in his own family expected him to score high, so he's supposed to die. That's the way the passage has been set up. But who's gonna kill a Bologna? So they have the guy with not much background, no big family tie-in. That makes sense. Put him against. He's gonna crush him. Darrow's expected to win that.
The only real problem,
it's a safe thing, safe bet from the people running the game.
The only real problem is that Darrow is a capable and likable guy who gets a very quick, very strong bond with Cassius.
Yeah.
Julian's brother.
It would have been much better for all involved if Titus had been matched up with Julian.
Absolutely.
Which is what, logically, to cover himself, Darrow allows Cassius to believe. Because that's a good narrative there. Absolutely.
Yeah, until people cheat and give that knowledge to Cassius anyway.
Yeah. As soon as Darrow lies right off the bat, right at the end of the passage, lies about, make sure he doesn't let anyone know he's the one that killed Julian, this is going to come back and bite. But what choice did he have? Was he really supposed to say,
even from
oh man, dude, sorry, yeah, I got paired with your brother?
And
Sucked to be
Cassius
him.
is not thinking logically, and I don't really blame him for it.
Well, there's
but
no
also,
logic involved here, but Daryl makes the point. What, was I supposed to let him kill me?
yeah, and it's like, were you supposed to let him kill me? Did you think any differently when you killed someone there? Is all of this. What I like about Cassius, though, is that he makes the point when he's got Darrow bleeding in the mud. And they're talking, it's like, what, was I supposed to let him kill me? And he's like, no, but I saw it. He was given basically a video recording of it. And he's like, I saw it. You weren't supposed to like it.
He was traumatized by it. What do you mean like it? He didn't
No,
really
Cassius
like it.
makes the point of basically being like, you did not have any hesitation, regrets, remorse. You went and you killed him and you wanted to kill him.
Let's take that to an underlying theme throughout this book, and this is going to continue. Darrow is not his own person here.
No.
He is going to be driven throughout this story to do things he would not prefer to do, but his life is not his own. He is here on a mission, so he will do what he has to do in order to make sure he survives, he succeeds, and he's in a position to be launched from the academy to a way to eventually change it all or burn it all down or whatever. He has to do that. He hates that at times because of the relationships, the friendships he starts to develop, but it doesn't matter. It's shown at the end of the book where he accepts the patronage of the freaking guy responsible for his wife's death.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's not his own choices.
You do have to weigh in. We see that, and we see that for Darrow. But everyone else sees Darrow and his actions and his ambitions, and it's a very Gold thing. So it's like
they tell their own story about what that means, and it's a very reasonable story.
And
this guy cares only about himself.
While it being very reasonable, there are certain
it's a Gold narrative, though,
and relationships.
It makes sense to them
that suffer because of it.
If anything, it makes it stand out more that they're drawn to Darrow because of his uniqueness, his different way of looking at things, which we understand why those exist.
Because he's not Gold.
And then feel that much more betrayed when at various points, especially the end, he acts like a Gold. I mean, that's what they expect from each other. But he's attracted to them because he's different, and then he acts according to norm. That's what's hard, and that conflict causes friction. Oh my goodness! And
let's talk.
And I feel bad for Darrow because he's caught in having to live a lie. And that's a weight, man. Oh,
let's talk about him being different and being notably different than Golds of this time. Not different than Gold, but different than Golds of this time. Because when he accepts Augustus's offer of tutelage, sponsorship becomes his Lancer at the end. It's turning down Lorne Al-Arcos, the Rage Knight, the Old Guard, one of the Golds of the old glory days, one of the Iron Gold kind of things. And it's someone who is very different from how Golds are now, but is very respected. And one of the few people who could be like, yeah, no, I'm not in charge because I chose not to be.
Yeah. Darrow, just Darrow, would have totally loved to go with Lorne. Absolutely. But his choices aren't his own. He needs to go as high as he can. That's what drives it. I appreciated... Okay, we've got this issue. He and Cassius become brothers.
Yeah.
And Roke, I don't even have much in my notes about Roke. I feel bad about that, but we can only talk about so much in about an hour here. So
it's okay. We can't talk too much about him yet.
There'll be more Roke. Yes, we'll come back. But okay, so he and Cassius are tight. And then it all falls apart. And I'm sorry, it falls apart partly because Cassius is a hypocrite. Yeah. Cassius is living what is expected of a Gold. He knows that Darrow had no choice. He had to kill his brother. And yet he's telling himself, I'm mad because you lied to me. In part, I'm mad because you lied about it. And you just did what you felt you needed to do. And you did it well. And you're good with that. And it's like, oh, no, you're not even giving Darrow a chance. And if Darrow had come out and said, right away after the passage, Cassius, I'm so sorry. I got paired with Julian. I had no choice. I had to kill him. Cassius would have been trying to kill him right there and then, but Cassius is telling him a story. Oh, it would have been different then. And no, it would not.
I agree mostly. It would have been different. It wouldn't have been as different as Cassius would like us to believe.
Yeah.
He still would have been like, maybe challenge him to duel, definitely want to kill him. But the idea of like, we are now forever blood feud, I don't think it would have gotten that far that fast.
Maybe.
Because Darrow is motivated by his own secrets and his motivations and what we see here, even though the rest of the Golds don't see that. Cassius is motivated by what he perceives to be the honorable thing. He has a very strict code of honor, and he will follow it. And he'll hold others to it as well. Now, whether that is actually what we as a reader believe to be the honorable thing is questionable.
I think he's comfortable setting that aside at times. I think we've seen that already in this book.
I have to vehemently disagree with you that anytime he does set it aside, it is not comfortably, and it becomes things he will always regret. Good about it,
but he still does it.
It's the sort of thing of like, some people regret that good or bad choices and all their things they do. Cassius regrets the moments that he does not act honorably, even if it's something that like makes no sense, or like something where that's objectively a good thing, but it goes against his code of honor and he will regret it for the rest of his life.
Let's talk about the fact when Cassius finally springs the trap on Darrow because he has learned the truth. It's a total betrayal. And he sucker punches him, basically. He leaves him for dead. He totally misled him. There was no honor in that. None at all.
No, back
and
up.
Yes, it eats him up afterwards, but it didn't stop him from doing it.
He did not sucker punch him at all. He absolutely let him off and tricked him into it.
I will say he sucker punched him because he let him out alone with him on false pretenses.
Correct.
He lied to get him alone like that. That's a sucker punch.
He stuck to what he believed to be the honorable thing, which is that he removed it to a singular duel, gave him a weapon, gave him equal playing field in terms of equipment. He knew
Darrow had no shot with that. He knew.
No, absolutely. I didn't say he gave him an actually fair fight, but he gave him an equitable fight. No.
Okay.
He did not give him an equitable. He gave him an equal fight.
All right, let's shift a little. I appreciated in this book how Darrow finds good in many of the Golds, which makes his life much harder. Because he did come out rage, vengeance. I'm going to fix all of this and get even for what they did to Io. And god dang it, I like some of these people. And this is hard for him then. He's connecting with them. He's not having to fake it. He's finding people he can genuinely relate with. But again, he's driven by a mission. And this conflict, it's not good to be Darrow, man. It is not.
I do love that most of the ones he relates with the most and is able to kind of connect with are the Golds who are less full of themselves because they're the less capable.
They're not the party line guys except Cassius.
We do have to
keep in mind that falls apart.
That most of those who are the less capable were still capable enough that they were in the top 50%.
Yes. So
at least through the passage.
Severo, nobody
they did it.
Nobody, is willing to get the Goblin. Nobody's giving him the time of day except Darrow.
But
Severo is like a puppy latched to Darrow now. You are my guy.
Screwface, Pebble, Clown. These people who get names and nicknames from when they were being made fun of for the people who were probably going to die, not be the ones that live, before they even knew that was the test.
Yeah. The one who changes everything, you already mentioned her before, is Mustang. Without Mustang, we don't have this story.
No.
And yet Mustang becomes who she is in this story because of Darrow. Because of his innateness that he had an opportunity to totally out her at a time where it would have gone very badly for her. And he said nothing. He let her lie there in secret and get away. And boy, does that pay dividends for him later. But he didn't do it to get anything. Darrow is such a good guy at the heart of things.
Darrow and Virginia both are vital and necessary to this story. And it's very clear already will be vital and necessary going forward.
Yeah.
We don't get Darrow as he needs to be without the influence of a gold. But we also don't get the action that we need out of Mustang without Darrow helping spur it and being that charismatic leader that people can band behind.
Sorry, the pun kicked in. He spurs a Mustang. Think about it. Okay. Let's talk about this academy just a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
This is basically a lengthy, twisted version of Capture the Flag.
Yeah.
They have these houses. Each house is a standard. With the standard, you can make slaves of the others from other houses that you capture. And they have to then obey, or they become shunned. That wasn't the right word. What is it? They become...
for people who are not new to our
channel,
obey.
Do you remember the word?
I don't remember the word. But for people who are not new to our channel, this is not going to be a strange concept. It's an Aiel Gaishain concept. It is, you are captured and taken in this, and your honor compels you. You're not forced by magical or scientific means.
Yeah. Now, they don't have to do their best for it. They just have to follow orders. Which is how Darrow's going to flip things with Mustang's encouragement, because they stop enslaving people. Instead, he starts inspiring people.
Well,
he brings people into his army. We're not part of any house, but we're going to create something different.
They almost do like an indentured servitude type thing that leads to inspiration. Because like they do still enslave people, but be like, you have the opportunity to earn your freedom to then now follow me loyally just because you're choosing to. And so it's a little Ponzi scheme-esque, but like it works, and it does create people who actually do feel inspired and trusted. And there is one specific scene that goes beyond just using the gold's feelings and ambitions to inspire them, because that's what, capturing more people and you earn your freedom. That's the gold way of doing things. Darrow shows he's more than that with a certain flogging scene.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And that was with Tactus originally, right?
Tactus, Darrow, and Pax. Specifically, Tactus tried to be gold and force himself on one of the slaves, basically. And Darrow's like, we're not doing that. Period. We're not. And that goes back to what he dealt with Titus and all that. And
which brought out the worst of him.
Is wrong.
In dealing with Titus.
Don't
and how that
do
happened.
That.
This is something good for Darrow. He learns from his mistakes.
Yes, because he made a mistake with Titus. And he knows that.
Mm-hmm.
But with Tactus, he whips him. And then he turns around and goes, Pax, you are the biggest, scariest, most terrifying monstrosity here. We love you. You're a baby. You're sweet. But don't hold back. Do exactly what I just did to Tactus, to me. It will be worse when you do it to me, but I'm making a point.
And Pax hates doing that. But he does it. He does it. Yeah. And Darrow has them like glue after that. And there are so many leadership lessons in this story. You don't create followers by fear, by authority and power. You create them by inspiring them and by showing how much you are willing to sacrifice for the people that you lead. They will follow you through hell if they know that's how much you care.
What I love about Pax is that he is Minerva, to put it in Harry Potter terms, mostly because he's a Hufflepuff. He's in Minerva because Mustang is Minerva. And his loyalty to her and desire to protect is like, yeah, I'm going to end up there. Sure. I'm not a classic Minerva guy, but I can be. And I will follow her anywhere. And that transfers eventually to be following Darrow anywhere.
Yep.
And then poor Pax.
Poor Pax. That sucked when that happened. Well, but let's save that. We'll come back.
We'll get there.
We'll come back to that. A couple other things I want to hit on before we get that. We've kind of glossed over pretty quick the Titus issue.
Yeah.
Titus was so wrong. He was so dark. He had gone so far off the deep end. He's got all these people just following him because he's the biggest, baddest guy around. But I mean, they are doing horrific things, especially to the women. And finally, Titus gets his. And he's brutally executed in a duel that's not a duel. It's more an execution.
Yeah.
But what we find right at that point is Titus is another Red. He's another Darrow.
Which
Wow.
is, again, one of these things where Darrow needed that. Partially because as he's seeing all these different things, he's seeing there are good golds. Like, they're still gold, but they're good. And this mess, and he's questioning a little. And then I get driven home, just because you're Red doesn't mean you're always a good person. And just because you're justified in your anger doesn't mean you're justified in doing any actions to another color. The idea that Titus went, I am furious and I'm going to use being big and bad to make gold suffer how I want them to. And they will
Yeah.
watch and enjoy it because I am also a gold now.
Titus feels completely justified because the golds are the bad guys. I can do whatever I can to make them suffer, and they deserve every moment of it. He would look at Darrow and say, brother, you've lost your way.
Yeah.
Why are you partnering with any of them? These are the enemy.
Titus believes he is right to commit atrocities because he's
Yes.
successfully fully othered golds
Yes.
and just views them as these villainous monsters. And Darrow isn't so sure about that, but also needs to be reminded and shown how bad it is and how horrible you become if you fall into that trap. As well as being a quick little reality check of going, hey, as bad as gold is, Red is capable of being horrible.
Now, all of this happens before the fallout with Cassius. So this is in his mind how Titus went wrong when Mustang saves him, brings him back from death. Now, she helped bring him back. It's really the pit viper venom that helps him not die.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's the one that nurses him back to health. I mean, he's hard to kill, man. He is hard to kill.
Plus, Darrow gets into some health trouble where she helps him. Then Mustang gets into problems where Darrow's nursing her back to health. And through all of it, there's a little bit of Fitchner help and patronage from the outside. Just a little Hunger Games care packagey to be like, actually, you both are kind of interesting.
See,
and there are certain forces outside that do actually want both of you still around.
Let's bring it to where this leads us to. We got to talk about the Jackal.
Yep.
And the fact that we discover this is a rigged game. Okay, they're all here in the academy to earn their place in the society, to determine who is going to rise to the top of the heap and get the best patronage and yada, yada, yada. And Fitchner spills the beans. They'd already figured out something's going on. Something's wrong here. And Fitchner confirms it. Oh, yeah, the Jackal's supposed to win. It's all set up.
And they're
getting extra help.
All the extra
and
things
we proctors,
and
we've all been bought off. And sorry, you're not supposed to win. Yeah, you're supposed to do well. And you've already done well. You're going to be set fine. You don't have to worry, dude. You're okay. Stop trying so hard. The Jackal wins. That's how it's set up. And he's like, okay, now there's two things that I see come to rise here. Again, one, Darrow's like, that's not fair. What the heck? But the other is, my mission says that can't be allowed.
Correct. And so ultimately his motivation, while fueled by a personal, that's not fair, that's not right.
And let me pause you just a sec. That's how he rallies everyone else on that point. Okay, go on.
It is motivated out of the necessity to be like, no, I need to stand out enough. I need to be the top dog here. I need to win so I can get the position, so I can get the army, so that we can rise.
Which is why he rallies everybody else to the unjustness of this, and then they feel the betrayal when he just accepts the power and that top prime position with the guy who was paying to have the Jackal win.
Well, let's go a step further. It's not the guy who's paying for the Jackal to win. It is. It's his dad. It's the dad of the Jackal paying for the Jackal to win.
They're like, how could you have done that? They feel like they were all used. And
they were.
They were.
Then we added the extra complication that the dad of the Jackal, who was supposed to win, is also the dad of Mustang. And
man, some good writing here.
It's messy.
Now, the final win, that was cool. Okay, first he gets Fitchner out of the way. Then he takes care of Jupiter. That just the stuff that happens. Wait, no, there's someone in between there.
Apollo in the sky. It's Apollo in the sky.
Apollo in the sky.
And
he kills Apollo.
He kills Apollo and has a little bit of a slip.
Yes. Oh, and that pays off. Woo. But then the Jupiter, he gets Jupiter out of the way, and it just the way it all works up. You've got Proctor's going, but you can't do this. It's like, but I am. He broke the game,
and yet at the same time, because he broke the game and how he broke the game, those who aren't actually directly in the game are like, we don't want this all the time, but we're kind of super down for it. It's kind of awesome. Yeah. And I do need to remind us here, this academy, this thing, awesome, being watched all across the solar system.
Hunger Games.
There are also a bunch of other academies.
Yeah.
This is the Mars Academy.
Yep.
It's not the only one.
So let's touch, I just got one more real big element that we need to spend a little time talking with. Although, okay, before that element, we got to talk about the Jackal a little more. What a character.
We do have to talk more about him.
The dude cut off his freaking hand.
And
he's so cold-blooded about it. I can get another one.
At a cave-in, he goes, yeah, I didn't probably need to resort to it quite yet, but it definitely inspired fear to start eating people.
He is so analytically driven.
He is definition sociopath.
There is no empathy in this person at all.
I love the insights we'll get eventually about him, but we don't get them here.
No.
And so here we just see this absolute
the bad guy
monster who saws off his own hand.
Love seeing lose
because he can.
That's the Jackal.
Who drops a grenade in the middle of everywhere, knowing, yeah, it could be a bad thing for me, but it's definitely going to get you, and it's rational.
Did you see it coming that Mustang didn't go over to her brother's side, but instead turns over her naked, bound brother to Darrow?
Yes.
You saw that coming. I sort of. I didn't know how it was going to play out, but I was sure she didn't go over to the Jackal.
Everything about her character development and what we've been shown is that while she does have certain drives and desires and obligations, she wants what she and Darrow are building. She wants something different. She wants to reform something about this system.
I like it. Yeah.
And her brother is not.
So let's talk about the system. This is kind of the last topic I have here. The society. We've learned some things about it. We have much more to learn. This gets complicated, but we don't get too deep into it yet in the first book.
No, not yet.
So I don't want to talk much more about it, but is there anything we should talk about at this point?
I think the wild stance that we need to mention at this point. There is a reason the society exists.
Yes.
There is a valid reason that it began.
Mm-hmm.
And while there are problems,
that it perpetuates. There is a valid reason it perpetuates.
Yeah. And while there are problems and there are inequalities and all these things, it's more of a system being abused than being wrong in totality.
Well, it's being operated by people.
Exactly.
We are flawed, man. So, yeah.
But it arose to deal with a flawed system that was taking advantage of people and doing bad things. And it's important to remember a good replacement becomes a new villainous empire. Maybe we should keep that in mind going forward.
So I'm gonna throw this in here again. I can't say much about it, but the whole ending of book 2.
Yeah, we'll talk about
In
that
light of
after
what
we're
we just
done.
said. Ah!
We'll talk about that when we're done recording here.
We'll save it for another episode. Yeah. Okay. Are there any other themes or elements that you want to bring up about this first book? I think we've hit the big stuff, but anything?
Trying to remember, is there anyone that I really want to highlight who I haven't yet? Yes, we need to go back for a second
Okay.
because we've really talked hard because it's emphasized for the most of the book about Darrow and his efforts for the Rising.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to highlight the other Reds who haven't had the opportunity to be Mickey-ified.
Mickey-ified. Nice. Okay.
We talked briefly about his uncle and working for the Sons of Ares, but then there's people like Dancer and Harmony, and these people who are Reds being Reds, still working and still being under this yoke of oppression, but fighting back.
Because
And
some of the Reds know more. And honestly, it's set that way. There are high Reds and low Reds. The low Reds are literally low. They're below the earth. They don't know there's something more. High Reds know there's more. They have a different role to play.
and I think it's very easy reading Red Rising to forget about them, to sit here and go, this whole story revolves around Darrow being a red, becoming a gold, and then turning their system against them. But it partway through kind of helps you to forget that there is still this contingent of reds that are fighting in their own ways. Sometimes physically fighting, sometimes just denying and rebelling in their own small ways. But that is
Sure.
there, and it is active, and don't forget about it.
Okay. There you go. All right, good book talk, man. This was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. I look forward to getting together with you again to talk about Golden Sun, book 2, since I just finished it. And then Morning Star, when I get through that. I potentially am going to try to move through all of these books by the end of February. It's only the 18th, so I have time
They
still.
kind of suck you in. You just keep
They
going.
do. They do. I'm supposed to try to get through 15 books this month, and I'm not going to make it through them all, but Red Rising's going pretty well, and I have a lot of driving to do this week. These are audiobooks for me.
They're very good
Excellent
audiobooks.
audiobooks, by the way.
It's Tim Gerard Reynolds, I think. Does
Yes.
an excellent
Yes.
job.
And I was able to pick a couple of them up for free on Audible.
Mm-hmm.
So
Some of them are on the
great.
Plus catalog.
Yep.
So if you
I
are
bought
an
the
Audible
rest
subscriber, free stuff.
today because 2 of them I used credits because they're very expensive, and one was on sale, and I got it for $7.
Nice.
Score.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. So I have the rest. They're all waiting, and I'm just going to keep moving through, and we'll keep getting together and doing this thing. This is good. Shifting just a little bit, I want to remind people, if you've enjoyed this, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and look in the show notes for the ways you can interact with Zach and I. Now, let's interact a little bit more, son. What else are you reading these days? Where are you at? Have you finished any books?
Yeah, our
Anything I should be
background is
updating our background with?
out of date. I'm no longer on Changes up in the corner there because I've been trying to stay to a series and get through.
So you finished Changes.
And then I finished Ghost Story, and then I finished Cold something or other.
Cold Days.
So I'm on Skin Game now.
Okay, come on, give me something. Give me something. Just give me one tiny reaction to what you've encountered in these books now. It did help you feel better about the Dresden Files. Come on, it did.
At this point, I am generally happier with the stories and books of the Dresden Files, and mostly am less okay, not with the book, but with still just certain things about Harry. It's like, I still don't love this character, but the character is not bogging down the story with their own norms and failings.
I mean, some of the issues you had with some of the other characters really transform in the books you're in now. So I was hoping you'd feel better.
I don't know how many of them
Okay.
I'd say really
It's a whole nother episode for us to talk about.
there.
Okay. So Skin Game is what you're on now. I'll
That is
put
what
it
I'm
up on our
on
back.
now there. I
Well,
also am like almost done with Outlander, so we'll see where I go after that.
Just book 1 of Outlander, right?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
the book Outlander, not the series Outlander.
So did you have anything else that you've read that I should be adding up
Nothing
here?
else new that needs to
Okay.
change and
Okay.
stuff. That's been the big driving force. I'm trying to get through those so I don't have to read any more of them.
Got it. So the Red Rising stuff, I failed to put the correct graphic up when we started. That should have been right over there, should have been Morningstar because I've started it now.
But Golden
I'm
Sun's still valid to be up there for a little.
over there. I'm still on Return to the Crimson Guard, about 26% in there. It's one of the novels of the Malazan Empire, the parallel stories of that. Where are you in Malazan? Are you still in Gardens of the Moon?
No, I finished Guardians of the Moon. I just haven't gone on to Deadhouse Gates yet because
Okay.
it's what I read on my phone, and I'm very slowly going through Tress because I almost never read on my
Gotcha.
phone.
Okay. Just below me is Reaper's Gale. I finished Reaper's Gale. That was book 7 of Malazan. That's why I'm over on Return to the Crimson Guard. And then I'll be moving into book 8. So that's coming. I'm still on Duma Key.
Yeah, it's not on here anymore because
Well, it's off to the edge. It's just not in this part. It's if you look on Twitter or Facebook, you'll see it's way over on the corner.
you're at
But
what,
Duma Key is
65% now?
about 65%. It's picking up. I read some last night. It's all right. It's all right. But another book that won't go up here that I am starting today is the next book in John Palladino's series, The Tragedy of Sedaine, but it's not book 3. It's a short story collection of stories in this world of Sedaine. So I'm proofreading it for him. So because book 2 had a whole bunch of proofreading mistakes, and he paid somebody a lot of money for that, and I was like, you got ripped off, dude. I will proofread for you. So I'm proofreading his book, and happy to do so because I get to read it early, and I want it to be pristine because he's writing such great stuff in the Tragedies Sedaine. So I'm gonna work on that today, tomorrow. Got tomorrow off. Yeah, that's what's coming for me. Boom. Any other life stuff to update? I told you I just got back from a cruise and it was cold.
My
cold. Mexico in February is cold, man.
Rach and I celebrated our anniversary, which meant last night we were out and saw a show, Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812.
Never heard of it. It's a theatrical production.
It's a musical. It won like Best Musical, the Tony in 2017.
Okay.
But it is
Sounds like quirky.
It's a musical adaptation of like 70 pages of War and Peace.
That's quirky.
It's compelling and entertaining, but it also at times really intentionally doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's just a good time.
Okay.
We had a fun experience because of the stage setup, so we were actually like at bar top tables on the stage.
Wow.
It was very fun.
Yeah, so they're acting all around you.
Acting, sometimes interacting with people there.
Love it.
Sometimes handing out shots. We didn't get any just because we were tucked in a little bit. But we're considering even like going back doing a double date in a situation where we're going to be like, where we can get shots.
Nice. Okay. I have nothing so exciting to report, but again, we did just get back from a cruise and we had plenty of shots there. And we booked our next cruise. Now that we've done the Mexican Riviera, we can say, okay, that was fine. It's back to the Caribbean now because it's got a different feel. It just wasn't what we want. So the Caribbean next year, March, will be in the Eastern Caribbean, and 3 days at sea and 3 days at islands we've done before, and that's fine because yeah, that's about all I can report. I got Jordan Con coming up in a couple of months. I know you're not going to that this time.
I'm missing out, but I'm excited to hear all about it and see your adventures.
I will represent best I can. And if any of you out there, Wheel of Time fans, have never tried Jordan Con, it's in April. It's in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's a lot of fun.
It's a good time.
You might be able to score a ticket from somebody who bought one. They're not tickets, they're called memberships. Might be able to get one from somebody who bought one and changed their mind because of a conflict. So there's a Facebook group. Reach out. Maybe you can still get a chance. I got nothing else. You got anything else?
I'm good.
All right, that's where we'll close this one up. We hope you enjoyed our talk on Red Rising. Watch for our talk on Golden Sun, not too far in the future. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.